Alright guys, I'm back with another video, and today we're just gonna kind of give a little update to how everything's going with me. Found a new job, like this passenger assistant thing, like working for some fucking bastards like that are paying me like shit money. Honestly, I would rather like my YouTube channel be my main source of income, but I'm not good enough to make YouTube videos. Like I'm not that good at making content. And I don't really have like, I guess it's because I don't have the equipment to make great videos. But I've been thinking about that a lot more these days. Like these days it's like you try to do something and then you fail at it. And then you try to do something else and you fail at that again. I mean I've been reading these books lately here and there. I can't really I can't really I don't really find myself reading a book and becoming super entranced in that book, because I get bored after a little bit. Like I kind of like some chapters of A Clash of Kings. Like my favorite chapters are probably like Theon, Tyrion. I like the Sansa chapters as well. Which other chapters do I like? Arya's are pretty good. Sometimes I skip them, but I think my favorite is probably Catelyn Stark. Basically, it's a book about a Clash of Kings where there's like this mythical world where there's like five kings vying for the throne, which is called King's Landing. It's basically where the Iron Throne is. And there's like five different kingdoms, five kings vying for the kingdom, right? So there's the Starks have a bit of an asterisk because they're basically like an independent kingdom, but they don't want to have the Iron Throne. So they don't want to become the king of the seven kingdoms. They want to be king of the North and the Trident, which is the Riverlands. So in the book, I believe Robb Stark is king of the Trident and the North, right? So the Trident meaning the Riverlands, and they're a great house. They're a major house in Westeros, which is a mythical world, and the author is George R.R. Martin, right? Shall I go grab the book for you guys? Shall I go grab the book for you guys real quick? All right, so basically, here's the Clash of Kings book right here. It's probably like, I mean, I wouldn't say I like super enjoyed this book because it's really big. Like it's pretty big. Like you guys can see how thick it is. And there's a lot of characters to kind of keep track of. And probably the chapter that I don't really care for the most is the Daenerys chapter. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I do sometimes when I'm bored. Like I just read this book sometimes. Like it's nice to like get lost in the world of Westeros when my life sucks, because like you don't really have much going for yourself. Like you kind of you kind of like to get lost in these little storylines. Like it seems like a nice little distraction from how your life is not going correctly. I remember that kind of like links into that episode of The Big Bang Theory when Penny becomes like super addicted to those fucking games on the online that she was playing. Like I think it was called World of Warcraft or something, and she was playing that game so much to where she wasn't able to even go to work or anything. Like she was just like, it's like an addiction basically. It's something that you forsake for everything else. It gives you some kind of sense of achievement to where that it seems more fulfilling than real life because you're not really getting things. She was this fucking what was it called? She was a fucking waitress trying to become a fucking actor. Just seemed like a pipe dream, right? Like Penny. Yeah, that's sometimes I think about that kind of stuff. But am I gonna read it tonight? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. With a nice little cup of coffee. But right now it's like 2 a.m. or something, so I don't think that's wise. How can I know the mind of a wolf? Yeah, and there's a lot of different things that I kind of like realize when I read it again. But where was I at? So basically, the show is about five different kings that are vying for the kingdom, right? Which I already mentioned. There's the Baratheons, which are the house that sits on what do you call it? The Storm's End, right? But yeah, in this book, like you'll see, like at the end, like he basically gives you like a description of each house. So like each great house, the main ones. So the 5 main ones are, there's obviously like smaller houses that branch off the main houses. Like they have bannermen, right? That's typically how it works. Shit, man, this is a long list, bro. So it says appendix: the kings in their courts. So it's the king on the Iron Throne, Joffrey Baratheon, first of his name, a boy of 13 years, the eldest son of King Robert Baratheon and Queen Cersei of House Lannister. Cersei is from House Lannister. King Robert is from House Baratheon. There's a little bit of an asterisk next to the Joffrey kid being a Baratheon, but you'll realize that soon as you go through the show. The king in Highgarden, Renly Baratheon. So there's like a little power struggle happening after the Baratheons. Like basically Robert Baratheon was killed by someone, right? And after that, there were his brothers, which are basically Joffrey Baratheon's uncles, the one I just mentioned earlier. And they find out that Cersei and Robert's Baratheon's children are not actually Robert's. They're actually Jaime Lannister's, which is kind of makes the act of succession kind of murky, right? So essentially, if that were true, Stannis is the rightful heir to the throne. But nobody likes Stannis, right? Nobody fucking likes him. He's not very charismatic. He's not a leadership kind of. He's a leader, but he's not very charismatic. People are not drawn to Stannis out of like love for him. Renly is more of a charismatic kind of person that, you know, you can kind of look at, like he's loved by the people. Like even throughout the first book in a Game of Thrones, the people were so like up in arms when he got knocked down off his saddle by Sandor Clegane. I think it was in the King's tourney. Like there was a tourney for Robert Baratheon or something like that. He got knocked down and everybody was pissed off. Like the people love Renly Baratheon. That's something that you start to realize as you read through the book. King Renly Baratheon, the first of his name, the younger of... It's like, there's so many different kings. It's ridiculous. And then there's the king in the Narrow Sea, Stannis Baratheon. And then there's the king in the north, the Robb Stark, which is a Stark. They're one of the major houses. Lord of Winterfell, king in the north. There's a north. There's a lot of different kingdoms. I think you guys are going to figure that out for yourselves as you read through the book. But this guy is like he's a main guy. He's a main character. I'm surprised that he doesn't say that the Greyjoys are a flippin' kingly nation. Because didn't Balon Greyjoy take the throne of Sultan Rock or something? Like I think we'll look at Theon's chapter tonight. Yeah, we'll look at Theon's chapter tonight. I'm gonna read through Theon. Like, I really didn't like how Yara was like such a bitch. Like, she's such a cunt. She was such a cunt in the book because like she was always so condescending and patronizing, and every time she was around him, she would always make fun of him in front of her men, and she would always belittle him, make fun of him. She even didn't even let him know that it was her when they first met. But Theon did not need to be told that Black Wind was Asha's longship. Her name is Asha in the book, but in the show her name is Yara because they don't want to mistake her for the wildling girl whose name is Asha, right? Priest had nothing to say to that. And what of you, Uncle? You were no priest when I was taken from Pike. But I think I kind of like skipped over a lot of chapters here. Yeah, I think I should read this. And also, like, I have a lot of trouble going through John's chapters in the book because, like, they're just so tedious. Like, I always want to get to the action, but I think I need to become more of a patient reader so that there's like a payoff in the end. Because that's the whole point of reading a book, right? You don't just skip towards the best parts. Like, you read the whole book as it comes. You don't just skip around. But the problem is, like, I've also listened to the audiobook. I've also listened to the audiobook a few times, and I'm guilty of skipping chapters in the book in the audiobook as well. But is that really a problem? Like, do you guys think that that's a problem? Like, if you read the book first, or should you watch the show first, or should you read the book first? Which one should you go first with? Because I was on Reddit, and people have conflicting opinions. Like, they say you should watch the show first because it gives you like a little insight into the show and how like the whole world is built up. Like, you'll get a very good foundation before you read the book, so you know what's in store for you. And obviously, the book has more information than the show because you can only put so much in a show. Like, with a book, you have like flipping thousands of words, hundreds of pages. But with a show, you only have so much time. You have 1 hour each episode. You have 10 episodes each season. You can't possibly put everything in the show. You would only put the pivotal moments from the book in the show, right? Yeah, I don't even know why I bought this book. Like, I think there wasn't an option of getting the Storm of Swords. I think initially I wanted to get, like, I went to the bookstore in Holland. I bought it from Holland, yeah. It was a bit pricey. Like, it was like 10, 12 euros. I don't know, something like that. It's £10 here. Recommended price. So you guys want to read the blurb? From the ancient citadel of Dragonstone to the forbidding lands of Winterfell, chaos reigns as pretenders to the Iron Throne of the Seven Kingdoms stake their claims through tempest, turmoil, and war. As a prophecy of doom cuts across the sky, a comet the color of blood and flame, 5 factions struggle for control of a divided land. Brother plots against brother, and the dead rise to walk in the light. Against the backdrop of incest and fratricide, alchemy and murder, the price of glory is measured in blood. But I think, do you guys think that there's like some kind of foreshadowing in the books in the Clash of Kings for the Red Wedding? Like, I've been looking at some clues. Okay, fine. I mean, I will read the chapters that I don't like if this video gets like, I don't know, like 100 likes or something. If it gets 100 likes, I'll read through like the chapters I don't like just because the video got 100 likes. And I might even do like some reading, like I might read through the chapters in like a live stream or something like that next time. But yeah, basically, like, my mental health has kind of like gone down the drain recently because, like, you know, my account is like minus 154 pounds overdraft. I have like the job starting in like a week. I'm totally skint. I have no money. I tried asking people for money on my friends list. Everybody said no. Everybody on Instagram said no. And it's gonna take like a whole month before I get paid. My first paycheck's gonna take like a month. So I don't know what I'm gonna do for this whole month. You know, it's like kind of depressing actually. Like, I'm like 30 euros away from my first paycheck. Not first, but from my paycheck on YouTube. Like, I've been paid a bunch of times, but I really hope that this month I'm able to make like a couple $100 on YouTube so I can keep myself going up until like the next paycheck. But yeah, nobody gives a fuck, you know? You gotta make people give a fuck. But yeah, man, like yeah. Yeah. And the Davos chapters, but I'm starting to realize like I can't just read like Catelyn chapters and Tyrion chapters and Sansa chapters without knowing the full like I won't know the full picture if I just read the parts I want to read and skip the parts I don't want to read. That's stupid. Like, it's not like you're not a good reader at that point. Like, I remember listening to interview of George R. R. Martin, and he was talking about the books, and some people were saying that basically they like skipping over like their favorite POVs, like not skipping over favorite POVs, but skipping to the favorite POVs of their character and reading that chapter and skipping the ones along the way, which is a bit stupid, right? Like, it's a bit stupid. It's a bit dumb. Like, it's not the smartest thing to do in the world, you know? Not very smart. Not very smart, yeah. It's a good thing though, like, you guys want to read a little bit of this John chapter? Like, I'll read like half. Sam, John called softly. The air smelled of paper and dust and years. Before him, tall wooden shelves rose up into dimness, crammed with leather-bound books and bins of ancient rolls. A faint yellow glow filtered through the stacks from some hidden lamp. John blew out the taper he carried, preferring not to risk an open flame amidst so much old, dry paper. Instead, he followed the light. Like, I'm starting to realize, like, when I'm listening to it versus when I'm reading it, I retain so much more information when I'm reading the chapter instead of when I'm listening to a chapter. When I'm listening to it, I forget like half or maybe more. Like I just remember the parts that I find interesting, but when I'm actually reading it, all the descriptive parts of what George R. R. Martin is talking about in the book, like all the different things he's describing, like he's saying, "Oh, there's a parchment here. He's burning it." Like you remember a lot more. Like you retain so much more information. All in black, he saw a shadow among shadows, dark of hair, long of face, grey of eye. Black moleskin gloves covered his hands. The right because it was burned. I've read the last couple chapters. Arya. Yeah, the last chapter is when Arya is running away from the she's running away to the Night's Watch, and she's assumed a new identity. And then the last chapter before that, there's Bran. Did I read this one? I think I did. Pretty sure I did. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss any stuff. But yeah, Tyrion, yeah, I read that one as well. But I think I'm starting to realize like a Game of Thrones is like so much more interesting than this book. I've realized that I like a Game of Thrones a lot more than a Clash of Kings. And I like a Storm of Swords a lot more than I like a Clash of Kings or a Game of Thrones. I think my favorite is probably a Storm of Swords. And then maybe even a Game of Thrones is second. Then it's Dance of Dragons and Feast of Crows, and then it's Clash of Kings. But Clash of Kings is also pretty good. It's just not as good as the Game of Thrones or a Storm of Swords, right? There's just different themes there that I like. Storm of Swords is really good, like excellent. Like that's probably the best book of the whole franchise. It's a Storm of Swords. But yeah, man, I gotta wrap up there, man. I got some other shit I gotta do, guys. Peace.